Is there a prompt? There are 6 emergency exits.
Hello, everybody. This is Ron, your captain speaking. We are currently 30,000 feet in the air, and we haven't even left the airport. We just lit the joint. Just kidding, a little pilot humor there. We like to have fun. Our destination today is Casablanca, Morocco. So everyone, sit back, fasten your seatbelts, and prepare for takeoff. We will be arriving in 6 hours.
7-footers gang, what is going on? It's your girl Jenna and Jarod back here for episode 101, baby. Post Will Chamberlain episode.
Yes, the post Will Chamberlain episode. Coming down off that lovely high of 100 episodes. Thank you, of course, everyone for rocking with us through 100 episodes. And Jenna, I feel like we're starting out this episode like with more bad news like we did last time.
I mean, there's not a day lately where we're starting with good news at this point. But our guy, Hawks coach, no more, Lloyd Pierce, was fired this past Monday. Let's just have a moment of silence for the terrible decision that the Hawks made. Thank you. Now, this was less than halfway into the season, guys, and he didn't have a great roster because of injury to deal with. You know, the stars, were they stars? I mean, was this all on Lloyd Pierce? I mean, now we have assistant Nate McMillan, who will serve as the team's interim coach, but it's not looking good in Atlanta. It's looking very bad, almost like the Houston Texans. They should all hang out.
Well, you know what's so interesting, right? When the Hawks hired Nate McMillan to be Lloyd Pierce's lead assistant, I was like, Lloyd better know. That means you on the hot seat, my guy. Because as we know, Nate McMillan, longtime head coach in this league, most recently coaching Indiana Pacers. Of course, he coached the Portland Trailblazers as well. Like, they were letting him know from the jump with that move, hey, man, we are going to hire. Your replacement is sitting right next to you. So, get yourself together. And so Lloyd, I think, had to know that. And it's interesting because he recently, as a couple weeks ago, he spoke to The Athletic, and he actually said, quote, GM Travis Schlenk is going to fire me one day. I mean, and well, that day sure enough came, right? And that's just the nature of coaching. I will say this, it's unfortunate, and I think Lloyd was dealt some bad cards. My question is, as an organization, do the Hawks know where they're going? Right? You have a lot of young talent on that team, right? Trae Young, Cam Reddish, DeAndre Hunter, Kevin Huerter, John Collins, right? They're all young guys in the league. But then this past offseason, you go out and get Rajon Rondo, Danilo Gallinari, right? Bogdan Bogdanovic. It's like, so are we young? Or
are we rebuilding?
Or are we trying to compete for something here? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? And there's some incongruence there, right? And, to be fair again to Lloyd, Chris Dunn, who they also got, he's been hurt and hasn't been able to play all season. Bogdanovic hasn't played, right? Gallinari was hurt for quite a bit of time. Rondo has been hurt. Like, there's been a lot of sort of cards that have not been in his favor. And the owner is basically like, look, we want to make the playoffs. That is our goal this year. And where they're headed right now, it doesn't seem like that's part of the reality. Even though, look, in the East, everybody's pretty jumbled up together. They're only 3.5 games out. The Hawks go on a 5-game winning streak, and guess what? They're right back in the thick of things. But clearly, they felt as though Lloyd wasn't the guy to lead them. And we do know that The Athletic put out a story from Sam Amick, David Aldridge, and Chris Kirshner. Kirshner is the Hawks beat writer, and Aldridge and Amick, of course, are national NBA writers. Apparently, Lloyd lost the locker room, and guys like Trae Young, Cam Reddish, and John Collins reportedly not big fans of Lloyd. So, do with that as you will.
Well, Trae Young is their star, and if he isn't happy with the head coach, that is always the first one to go. I mean, they're 14-20, 11th in the East. Yes, you said they're just a couple games away from sliding into another slot, but it's not looking good. Like you said, what is the goal in Atlanta? Did they have a blueprint? Did they have a plan to follow?
It seemed
Where
as
did
though
they stop following the plan.
It seemed as though they were going to build around the young talent, but clearly that wasn't the vibe, right? That wasn't happening. And with Travis Schlenk letting him go, the question now, if you're a Hawks fan, you have to ask yourself, well, is the organization sure that the person making those decisions, that being GM Travis Schlenk, is that the guy you want to make decisions? Because let's say next year happens and the Hawks are bad again. And this time, Travis Schlenk is the one to go. Well, when you hire a new GM, what's going to happen now? Because Nate McMillan's still your coach. That new GM is going to want to bring in his own regime and his own people. So you're pushing yourself further and further behind the 8 ball. So do the Hawks believe Travis Schlenk is their guy to make these decisions? That remains to be seen. The other piece, and we talked about Trae and Reddish and Collins having, and Lloyd having lost the locker room. Look, I get it. The NBA is a stars league, and your star players have to have, some input and say so. But these 3 dudes, what have those 3 dudes done in this league? Like that they ain't LeBron James, they ain't Kevin Durant, they ain't Steph Curry. Like you ain't these people. Like are you sure you want to turn over decisions of your franchise to these 3 young kids who haven't really done a whole lot of winning in this league yet? I mean, okay, cool. These are just questions you have to ask yourself. All right? And you do you. If that's what you think, okay. Hope it works out.
What was very interesting to see was the amount of coaches that spoke out around the league once Pierce's firing went public, including Doc Rivers, Stan Van Gundy. I mean, those 2 names alone are quite alarming out of the pool of coaches in the league. I mean, Doc Rivers called it really disappointing. Stan Van Gundy said, gave him high praise, said he'll be back. The league needs Pierce. I mean, what do you think about them speaking out like that? I mean, they gave lengthy kind of statements. You know what I mean?
Well, it's twofold, right? One, just like the players are a fraternity, coaching is also a fraternity. So when something happens to quote unquote one of their own, they're all going to rally behind that person, right? Generally speaking, that's kind of how this goes. So a lot of that is just other coaches sticking up for their fellow coaches, right? Because there's only 30 of them in the league. Now,
right.
The other piece of this is, I think what Lloyd has done in the city of Atlanta is really off the court is really, really important. The Hawks have sort of re-ingratiated themselves within the community, and with everything that was happening this past summer in terms of the social justice fights and the various causes that the players were involved in, Lloyd Pierce was the lead coach that was active among that. He was the first coach to have his home arena, the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, being used as a voting site, right? The various things that he was doing in that community to connect the team to the community, but also to make the world and, starting with Atlanta, a better place, huge. You're not going to replace that with whoever you got, right? And this is not disrespecting Nate McMillan. This is just how much this stuff meant to Lloyd Pierce. And that was something that the Hawks had to take into consideration, right? I mean, you're letting somebody go who built up a lot of goodwill within the community. Now, at the end of the day, it is about wins and losses, right? Like, and to the owner's point and to Travis Schlenk's point, the GM, they were underperforming. I think again there are some things that aren't always. Can Lloyd be better? Sure. And as always, I always say, Jenna, there's blame to go around everywhere, right? It's not one person, right? It's multiple. That roster, they had some unfortunate injuries happening, and then 2, we're still not sure if Trae Young is the guy to build the team around, right? Like, because we're not 100% certain that his teammates all love playing basketball with him. So, these are things that are all worth noting and pointing out.
To that, because we discussed in a previous episode too about Trae Young's ability to lead more so than his actual play. But to your point really quick about wins and losses, Doc Rivers did point out something that I think we can all agree with, unless you have another opinion. But he said, quote, "You're in the middle of a rebuild and then you blame the coach for the losses that you had no chance to win." That was like something you'd say, Jarod, something philosophical.
I mean, it's true.
It's true.
Yeah,
it is true.
You're rebuilding, right? Now, look, the other question is, are we misjudging the Hawks and their talent, right? Trae Young is an elite offensive player, and early in the season, the Hawks were the best offense in the league. Okay, but Trae is a problem defensively, and he gets picked on repeatedly on that side of the floor, and that's a problem if you can't stop people, right? Now, you can say, well, what about the Nets, Jarod? Look, you're dealing with a whole different animal here, okay? As good as Trae Young...
Everybody doesn't have to be good on offense that night.
Right. As good as Trae Young is or portends to be, and as good as John Collins is or pretends to be, or Reddish, or Herter, or any of these other guys, they ain't Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving. And let's be real, they're probably never going to be as good as those guys. Right? So, I mean, so the Nets can afford to, have that sort of situation, and we know the Nets can actually play defense and get stops when they need to. This Hawks team has not been able to prove that. That's number one. Number two, again, the injuries. DeAndre Hunter was emerging as their best defender. He goes down, well, now you got problems, right? Chris Dunn still hasn't played. Bogdanovich hasn't played. You're dealing with a lot and different things, and you're trying to figure out and change, again, this culture and establish how do we win here. And we do know, Trae and Lloyd definitely, they had some issues, and it's the article that pointed that out noted that in a call that Lloyd had with the competition committee, he was complaining about the way that certain players draw fouls, right? And his star player does that, right? That is the thing that Trae does as well as anybody in the league. And a lot of the other coaches found that interesting. Wow, I mean, that's what his guy does. And he's like, so there was clearly some issues between Lloyd and Trae. Look, okay, we'll see. Nate McMillan's coming in. He's an old school kind of coach. We shall see what the Hawks look like with Nate in charge. We'll see.
We shall see. Last note, too, similarly to this discussion, former Lakers coach Luke Walton, current coach in Sacramento, if you guys didn't know, the original dumpster fire dubbed by Jarod, he still has his job, but there's a similar situation happening in Sacramento. Now, we ask, it begs the question, is there a double standard in coaching?
Well, Jenna,
how do you think things are being handled despite this being so similar?
Jenna, I say this all the time, right? Sport is a microcosm of the larger society in which it inhabits, right? Well, there are double standards that exist in the outside world, so of course it exists in the NBA. Look, Luke Walton has not proven the ability to be a good head coach. Losing everywhere he's been. Got a Lakers job, lost. Kings job, losing. He's got 2 head coaching jobs, and all he's done is produce loser basketball. Yet, Lloyd Pierce, right, barely given time to see this team through. So there's definitely a
less
double.
Less than half the season.
Right. There's definitely a double standard, for sure. 100%. So at a minimum, if Luke got a second job, Lloyd should get a second job. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We shall see. Super interesting. We'll follow that one for you guys. You know what's up. Let's go to Brooklyn because we got to talk about somebody.
Big up to Brooklyn.
That's right, baby. BK. Let's go to Brooklyn because someone is weaseling their way into the MVP conversation, and he has a very large, long beard and currently braids, and he's new. It's James Harden, guys. The man is on fire, okay? First of all, he's notched 7 triple-doubles since he got traded to the Nets. He made history the other night as the first player to record at least 30 points, 15 assists, and 10 boards, and no turnovers since the 1977-78 season. I mean, dang, James. Dang. Now that to me, before I open the floor for you, because again, this is your beat. This is a team you cover very closely, as I remind everyone every single week. This to me is taking it to the mental health side. And when you're happy and you're in an environment that is healthy for your mind, body, and soul, this is what happens. Again, of course, the elite skill that you need to be, one of the best offensive players ever is also needed. But, I don't think it hurts that he is happy.
Yeah, look, James is really playing elite basketball right now. He was just named by the NBA today as Eastern Conference Player of the Month. helping the Nets go to a 9-4 record. I mean, he's playing so well right now. And what I find so funny and fascinating, people being like, "Oh, I didn't know James Harden could do this," and I'm like, what? I mean, did you not watch him play basketball in Houston? James Harden is an elite playmaker. Yes, we know he's an elite scorer too. He is an elite playmaker. He has led the league in assists before. This isn't the first time. He's done that in the past. He's very, very good at playmaking. And oh, by the way, when you're playmaking and you have Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving as like the people you're playmaking for, and Joe Harris, kind of makes your job even easier, right? It's kind of helpful when you have that going on. But look, Harden is really taking the mantle of that lead ball handler, as that lead point guard, and he's playing so well. You know, when they played the Mavs on Saturday and lost, Harden had 6 or 7 turnovers. And after the game, he told us, like, look, I got to be better. I turned the ball over way too much. The ability to come out the next game and have 0 turnovers, it's like, what? Like, again, with the amount of time, the amount that he has the ball in his hands, that is incredible, incredible stuff. Look, James Harden's an elite offensive player, an elite player, period. You know, people rag on his defense. His defense is a lot better than people think it is, particularly when he's playing in the post. Smart guy, gets his hand in passing lanes, gets steals, tips balls away. He's playing phenomenal basketball right now, and to your point, Jenna, he's where he wants to be, right? He's playing basketball with guys he wants to play with, and he seems very committed and, you know, hell bent on, I want to win a championship. Whatever I got to do that, I'm going to do. If that means scoring less and playmaking, fine, I'll do that. Whatever it is. And you can see, I mean, he can do just about everything.
That is true. And another person that thinks that is his teammate, Kyrie Irving, who had high praise for him. He said, quote, "We have to implement the phrase, get used to it," when he was talking about the way Harden plays with the Nets. He said, quote, "When James is being James, it makes our job a lot easier. And so we have to get used to somebody special like that, things like that in terms of breaking records. So I can't be right alongside of him, my name in Nets history and all the guys on our team, where we're just breaking records as a team. And then individually, we're stacking up some of the best to ever play." After hearing that praise, evaluating James on the Nets and what he's done so far, the records he's breaking, in your opinion, as an incredibly huge James Harden fan, is this right now with Brooklyn the best basketball you've seen him play?
Well, it's hard to say that, right? Because he's won MVPs before in Houston, right? I would say he is playing complete basketball, right? This is among the best complete ball he's played in his career, because he had some good complete seasons in Houston as well. But this is right up there with any of those seasons where he's playing complete basketball on both ends. Scoring, rebounding, assisting, and yes, even defending. Even though some of the advanced numbers will say his defense hasn't been that good. It has been better to my eye test. You know, in 22 games in Brooklyn, he's a 58.5% effective field goal percentage, highest in his career. 64% true shooting, highest of his career. Averaging 25, 8, and 11 on 49, 41, and 85 splits. I mean, he's doing it all right now. And, you know, I was talking to somebody about this. What he is, and on this team, he's a multiplier, right? But imagine your multiplier and your other multiples, the things that you're multiplying, are Kevin Durant, fucking Kyrie Irving, right? Like, it's not, you know, no disrespect to league average players, but you're not multiplying league average players. I'm multiplying already elite Hall of Fame talent. So when you have that type of skills all together, and mind you, they've done most of this the last 2 weeks without Kevin Durant, right? You put all of that together. That's why there's so much optimism in Brooklyn, and why so many people are like, how does this team not get to the NBA Finals, right? Because we know playoff time every year, what do these playoff series almost always come down to? I need somebody who can go and get themselves a shot, create a shot for themselves, and or create a shot for their teammates. The Nets have 3 of them. 3 dudes who can get their own bucket at any time, like against any defense. That is a luxury. I mean, think about it, right? In a way, that's not even what Golden State had, because peak Golden State with Kevin Durant. Yes, Steph and KD can get shots on their own. Klay doesn't really get shots on his own, right? He's I have to run off screens and do stuff, right? That's how that works. They have 3 of those dudes who, if all hell breaks loose and it's locked down and we can't run any fancy action, either one of them can isolate, go one-on-one, and it's likely a losing proposition for the defense. So all their defense has to be, Jenna, is good enough. And if their offense is clicking and they know it, and they're starting to make some strides on that side defensively, this is a scary, scary ball club.
Hey, I couldn't agree more. I mean, just the thought, really, still, of the 3 of them together, especially on offense, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
To say the least. You just don't want to be on that. You don't want to guard that. Coach, don't put me in, please. All 3 of them are out there? All 3? Ooh, I'm going to go with the second rotation. I'll be at the back of the bench. That's it. Man, speaking of nothing, actually, there was no transition there.
I was like,
we
what?
are transitioning, though, to America's favorite segment. That is called, as you guys know, What's Up With, where we question, good or bad, what the hell is up with. This week it's going to be, yeah, you guessed it, the Boston Celtics. Guys, the Boston Celtics, they're struggling. They're having some, I don't know if this is a growing pain, a pinched nerve, what it is, but they're struggling. They can't find their identity right now. I mean, even Celtics GM Danny Ainge said that this team doesn't really know who they are yet. And although they are working hard, I mean, Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, add in Kemba Walker, I mean, Marcus Smart, it sounds like something good, right? But what is up with the Celtics? Why can't they find their identity? What's going on in Boston?
If you're a Boston Celtics fan, I mean, there's got to be some concern there, right? I mean, Tatum and Brown have seemingly made another leap, but you're essentially a 500 ball club. You're not playing well defensively, and a lot of that is due to Marcus Smart being out. And, you know, Smart is that guy. He gives them their identity, right? That toughness, that grittiness, right? And again, it's not saying that Brown and Tatum aren't tough. That's not what I'm saying. Marcus Smart gives them that different kind of edge, whether they believe and they know who they are. The other problem is Kemba Walker's been up and down, right? Like, he was coming back off of injury, so he's still not quite consistent and himself yet. You know, the Tristan Thompson experiment is, you know, what it is. It's not great. And losing Gordon Hayward, that matters, right? Because that he was able to come off the bench and be that, you know, Gordon Hayward's a guy who's been a lead scorer for a team, right? So that was a great thing for them to have. It's not going well. And, you know, Danny Ainge needs to take some heat for this, you know, because we always hear, and there's no other GM in the league that we hear, oh, the Celtics almost got this player. They almost traded for that player. They almost traded for this one. You know, man, almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. Like, nobody cares that you almost got this one or you almost got that one. You didn't get it, right? All they've been doing is stockpiling all these picks, right? These just draft capital, these draft assets. But you haven't been able to turn it into anything that matters, right? And look, this is a team that went to the conference finals the last couple years, right? And they're like, okay, they're ready to make that leap. This is not looking like a conference finals team at this point right now. And you have to ask yourself, right? Like, what's going on? Who else should we be looking at here? What other moves can we make? And, you know, it's funny. Wick Grossbeck, the Celtics owner, or Celtics governor, said, you know, we're still reeling off this Kyrie thing. And it's so funny because it's like, okay, wait. So the minute Kyrie left, it was, oh, the locker room's so much better with Kemba. Kemba makes everybody. Okay. Well, is that not true now? Like, what happened between last year and this year? All of a sudden, the locker room vibe changed? You're going back to Kyrie? Like, no. Like, look, as an organization, you know, Danny skated by, and I think you need to start looking at Danny Ainge and saying, hey, my guy, like, we have all this capital in these assets. We got to get some better players in here, some talent in here to augment what we have. Tatum and Brown, again, have made that leap, but they haven't made that playmaking leap for others yet, right, to that level. And again, with Kemba being hurt, this is problematic right now, right? Like, what can we do? They need some big man help, right? Tice is fine, but what else can they do? That they have that trade exception as well. Are they going to use it? We shall see. We shall see.
Right. I mean, I spoke to Jayson Tatum last week, and the tone and the talk was very somber, especially when it came to, the Celtics and their struggles right now. He even noted that I asked if him and Jaylen Brown had a second to kind of, take in that all-star, being named an all-star. And he said that it's kind of just been, no, not really, because, with the state of our team, it's like, how are you going to celebrate? So that sucks. That's hard. So that trickles into emotions too. And when you're not in a good place as a team, it's hard to get back, Yeah. Even like just relationship wise, and get that good energy and that good vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think, look, Tatum and Brown early in their careers have been pretty fortunate in that they've always been on like winning teams, right? I mean, again, the Celtics have been to, I want to say it's 3 out of the last 5 conference finals, something of that nature. Look, I mean, this is what sometimes life is like in the NBA, right? Like that 500 mark and like struggling, and they're dealing with real adversity now. So the question is, how do those guys respond? But GM Danny Ainge, what do you do to help your guys respond? And, Danny did take some blame. He said part of it's on me. And it is. Part of it is 100% on Danny.
How much of it is on Brad Stevens?
My favorite coach in the world, Brad Stevens. Look, I mean, again, as I always say, right, that there's blame to go around. It's never just one person. Look, Brad's got to take some fault here as well, because this is the roster you have. You're lauded and hailed as this basketball genius, right? Brad Stevens, the basketball genius, the wonderkin. Okay, wonderkin. Figure out what you're doing, okay? This is what you have. Why aren't they better defensively? What's going on, right? Like, why aren't you guys playing? Because that's Brad's, right, one of his calling cards, supposedly. Why isn't defense working? What's going on there? Is it just effort? Are guys just not giving it? Is it all because of Marcus Smart? Maybe, but how can you manage to sustain, right, when you have injury? Because that's going to happen. That's part of the deal,
Exactly.
Why, are you giving young guys more chances on the bench to play? Because, hey, look, we got to see what we have here, and this may be able to help us. We shall see. But yeah, blame to go around. Definitely some blame on Brad.
Love it. Oh man, I'm surprised. I'm proud of you for containing it. Before I brought it up, you weren't even going to say anything. I was like, is he really not going to say it?
No, I mean, look, it's what it is, man. It's what it is. Blame to go around. But yes, definitely the greatest coach ever in the history of basketball should take some blame as well. There it is. I had to drop that dig in there.
Yes! I was waiting for it. I love it. The feud lives on. Okay. Let's talk about this guy. The next guy, I believe, who was dubbed the next LeBron James, Zion Williamson. We got to chat about him because the Pelicans are struggling as well. They're 15-19 right now. Coach Sam Van Gundy knows that they could beat a lot of teams in the league, he says, but they make too many mistakes. Zion agreed, said they need to be better. How much better does Zion need to be?
Well, Zion is not their problem right now. Zion's playing excellent basketball.
Right?
I mean, he is. Good Lord. I mean, I've been watching a lot.
On his shoulders.
I've been watching a lot of their games recently, man. He is so quick, and like you just like for a man his size, like these dudes have no chance of staying in front of him. And he's so strong when he goes up, and that second jump. It's interesting. I was talking to Marcus Elliott of P3 Performance, and they monitor and they have a lot of data on all the NBA guys when they come into the draft. They start at Team USA when they're young, under 18, all the way through. Nobody pushes off of all the athletes P3 has ever done evaluations on, and that's not just the NBA. That's the NFL. It's all sports. They've done evaluations on thousands, tens of thousands of athletes. They have so much data. There isn't a person that they've tested who pushes off the ground with more force than Zion Williamson. Not one. That is incredible. Like, incredible. And his second jump ability is out of this world. When you, the defender, are coming down off your first jump, he's already back up in the air off his second jump. Like, it's ridiculous. Look, he's playing well. The rest of the Pelicans, kind of suspect. Brandon Ingram's been doing all right. But look, they've got some defensive issues, which is problematic. They have a big win against the other night. They seem to be ill-fitting pieces, right? We talked about this before. Does Steven Adams fit next to Zion? Not really, because you need someone who shoots threes next to him, right? As your five, a stretch three. Someone like Miles Turner perhaps might look better next to him, right? Like these are the kind of things. But in terms of Zion himself, he's playing excellent. Got his first All-Star nod. The young man is going places, and he's only scratching the surface for his game right now. Look, the question now is, how does David Griffin, Stan Van Gundy mold and shape this team around Zion? Because it's clear that is the piece that you build around down there, and he's playing excellent ball right now.
Oh my gosh, 100%. When you said pushing off that second jump where most guys are exhausted, you should be tired. He is an animal, an absolute animal. Coming back up to the rim, get out of the way. You're going to get hurt. And
he's so strong. It's just
my God.
It is, and think about it, right? I mean, he's what, 19? Like, so in
20.
20. In reality, he could get bigger and stronger.
Technically, yeah. I mean,
right?
I think so.
Right? Because you don't stop growing at 20. Yeah, a little bit. And he hasn't reached his physical peak yet. In the NBA, your physical peak is somewhere around 26 to 30. So, I mean, he's not even there yet. That's frightening. If the rest of the league, I'm like, I'm a little worried about this.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, he's playing well, but the Pelicans need to be better around him.
Also, speaking of All-Star, Yahoo Sports is reporting that Zion is going to decline
the dunk contest.
his invitation.
Yeah. The thing about the dunk contest is with these, they're so worried about potentially embarrassing themselves that they're like, a lot of the stars are like, I'm not gonna do it, because they just don't want to. Whereas if like a guy like Hamidou Diallo embarrasses himself, like no one's gonna care, like you know what I mean. But if Zion like messes up, it's gonna be a big deal, right? That's why LeBron didn't do it. That's why a lot of the stars don't do it, because they're like, nah, we ain't trying to get put on that Summer Jam screen, So it's what it is.
Hey, if there is a year to opt out, it is this one.
Well, I mean, we've already beat that horse to death.
Do what you got to do. And so other guys are dropping out like flies too. Dame Lillard in the 3-point contest, all that. We'll keep you guys posted. But yeah, that's that on the Zion front. We got a new segment though. Bum bum bum. I don't know what that was. There you go. I was just waiting for you to do it. We have a new segment though, guys. This is fun. It's fluffy. It's great. It's lighthearted. It's all that good stuff that you guys love that you don't go on Twitter for because you'll get hazed. So we are going to give out some shout-out accolades to a player, a team, a coach, whoever we feel each week who's killing it right now. They deserve it. Their name deserves to be in the 7-footers lights. So that's what we're going to do. Let's turn them on. And Jarod, let's hear your picks.
You want to go? Want me to do all mine at once?
Whatever you think is best. You're better at laying it out like this.
I'll do all mine at once, and then you do yours.
Okay.
Shout out to the Miami Heat for staying the course. I mean, the year started terribly for them, which we did predict was going to happen, right? That short turnaround from the finals. They had dealt with a lot of injury, COVID health and safety protocols, but they are winners of 6 straight, and they are coming on. And let me tell you, with the All-Star break coming and nobody from Miami going to the All-Star game, a week to get everybody healthy, watch out for the Miami Heat to go on a run come second half of the season. So that's my first one. Shout out to the Miami Heat. Shout out to Taylor Jenkins, head coach of the Memphis Grizzlies. The Grizzlies are missing their best player, arguably, in Trip J. Shout out to 7-footers favorite, Jaren Jackson Jr. And they're still 500. They're in. If the playoffs were to start today, they'd be in the play-in tournament. And they also missed John Morant for a couple of weeks. So for them to be where they are and playing as well as they're playing, a positive net rating, that's pretty impressive. Not having your best player and your second best player for stretches of, if not the entire season. So kudos to Taylor Jenkins. And finally, shout out to Julius Randle for being made an NBA All-Star. Shout out to Knicks fans. Look, the last 25 years have been brutal. Y'all haven't had much to celebrate outside of that one mellow stat year. Otherwise, it's been slim pickings. Look, Knicks fans, be happy. You got an All-Star. And look, you're what, the 4-5 seed in the East right now? Look, it looks like if things continue the way they are, you're going to at least be in the play-in, likely the playoffs, barring anything, barring a second half collapse. But, kudos to Julius Randle for being named an All-Star. Happy for Knicks fans. All right, you're up.
Woo! Well, staying on the Knicks beat, I have the Knicks. Shout out to the Knicks right now. It's very amazing to go on TV and see everybody covering the Knicks and being nice to them, but I'm seeing a lot of can you believe the Knicks, blah blah blah. Calm down, all right? I know, okay, we get it, all right, but don't make us a laughing stock, okay? But for real, on some real notes though, how impressive though right now. I mean, they go in, they try to make this rebuild, they do the new coaching staff, all this stuff, and it's working. It's nice to see it working. It really is. You said Julius Randle. I mean, the Knicks, they're doing well. I mean, hopefully they can keep it up. And like you said, the East is very jumbled right now. So you never know at this point. But we shall see. Shout out to the Knicks. Next one, no surprise here. Shout out to my guy, Zach LaVine. The reason I chose this was because I cried this week when I saw the Bulls and all that they did for him. I mean, the family, I think his fiance, I think he's engaged or something. Oh my God. I was crying, blubbering like a baby. I almost got water damage in my laptop, literally. So but yeah, finally an All-Star again. Great player, bad team right now, but he's shining. I like what they did for him. Love a good narrative. Had to pick him there. And sticking with the theme of All-Star, because this is our show right before the game. Mm-hmm. I gotta go with Devin Booker. Kendall Jenner's curse hasn't hit him yet. He's in the All-Star game. He was named.
Yet being the operative word there, right?
Yet, yeah, definitely gonna be a key word there. I'm gonna put that there as a disclaimer. But I am so proud of you, Kenny. I am so proud of you. The curse has not hit him. Maybe he's immune. I don't know. I like it. She shared some recent photos of them, up in the cabin in the woods or somewhere.
Oh, lovely.
And it was beautiful. But anyway, yeah. I mean, the curse hasn't come down. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Don't let these haters fool you.
Shouts to Ken and Book for Young Love. We're here to support Young Love.
Yes, that's what we're here for. God, you gotta love it. It's just gonna be really interesting though, because isn't Devin Booker and Karl Anthony Towns super close?
They are.
He's dating Jordan now. Jordan,
yeah, that, yeah. Mm-hmm. By the way, did you see Jordan's IG story with all the stuff that Kat got her? Was it the anniversary of her father's death or something? Or something, right? Like.
Yeah, he did a lot of nice things for her on the anniversary of his death. Which was sweet. They have a very good relationship, but
yo, she had those trophy room ones. She had, I was like, yo.
Oh yeah, every day I feel like he is stacking her up with everything. I mean, the first 20 Chanel bags were cute. Now it's getting a little weird, but yeah. But I mean, that has nothing to do with the stuff on her father's
right.
anniversary. But yeah, he is like, wow. I mean, where does she keep it all? How does she even wear them all? I don't know.
Got to get a new house.
Maybe they'll move in together.
Maybe.
Well, before we start some bad rumors that really aren't true, tell them where they can find us.
Well, no, we're not done yet. We got to catch up on some games of the week for people to.
Yeah.
So here's some games I'm looking at this week tonight. Well, what games are you looking at for any games this week? I don't want to jump the gun because maybe you might have some of these.
No, go ahead.
Games of the week tonight. Nuggets, Bucks, Suns, Lakers. Look, The Bucks starting to play better. Nuggets, what's going on with y'all? Like, net
What
ratings.
is going on with the Nuggets?
Net ratings look good, but you're not getting enough wins anyway. So that ain't looking great. And the Bucks, have they turned it around? Suns versus Lakers. We know what the Lakers' issues are. Have the Suns done something to, or are the Suns a legit team? Are they a legit contender? Those are the games I'm looking at tonight. And also, I mentioned the Grizzlies before. The Wizards, they're on a roll here with Bradley and Russell Westbrook. Won 5 of their last 6 games. Hey, watch out. So Wizards Grizzlies tonight is also an interesting game.
Hey.
What are you looking for?
Specifically tonight?
No, the whole week.
Oh, okay, because tomorrow the Jazz and the Sixers.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Is Joel Embiid gonna give Rudy Gobert that work, or is the defensive player there gonna be like, nah, Joel, not around here, my guy? Is Ben Simmons gonna lock up Donovan Mitchell? This is what we want to see.
Those two matchups specifically, just put the 4 of them on the court. Just the 4 of them. I'm good. That's it. It's fine. That's it. I'm good with that. Another game that I was really looking forward to, Lakers Kings. No, I'm kidding.
I like Lakers Kings.
No, I'm kidding. Yeah, that was for Wednesday. Anything else you're looking at this week?
Warriors Blazers Wednesday. Steph and Dame, always a show. I'm looking at Raptors Celtics. We talked about the Celtics. What's going on with them? Y'all good? And the Raptors are starting to come on here lately. And Warriors Suns on Thursday night also. It'll be a back-to-back for the Warriors, but I'm looking this little sort of West Coast swing, even though the Warriors are on the West Coast, right? The Blazers, the Suns. I'm very curious to see how they do in those two matchups. So, and then we're on a break, right? Because it's All-Star week, and so we'll be off next week. There won't be an episode because All-Star break, and we'll be back the following week, ready for the second half of the season.
Oh my God, how exciting. Jarod, I'm just going to be crying in my apartment all weekend thinking about how we could be running around at All-Star if it wasn't COVID.
I know.
And having so much fun.
Hitting up all the parties. I know. Yeah, that I do miss about All-Star, right? Is like, when you get to do the cool stuff with the athletes and like, the interviews and like the one-on-ones and then, of course, the parties. It's always the best part of All-Star.
My favorite part of All-Star is when Jarod's like, did you make it home safe?
Listen, I'm trying to make sure you're not dead out here in these streets.
No,
listen, I got an early bedtime. I got to go to sleep. I'm like, it's 3 a.m. Are you home? What are you doing? Like, what's happening?
Literally, I'm like, Jarod, come out. No, Jenna, I'm working. But it's All-Star. Jenna, we're here to work. Oh, we are?
We're here to work. Anyway, folks, you know where to find us. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, at 7footerspod on Twitter, at 7footerspodcast on Instagram. We are at JS Hector, at Jenna Lemoncelli, and we will see you guys in 2 weeks after the All-Star break. Peace. All right, that was...
Spent a couple years out here with these raps, trying to have a plan that we made come true. Applied to some jobs, but I ain't hit back. I don't wanna trap, what some man gon' do? Chevy told me come